I've seen things.
I've been tortured with voodoo. Been shot 9 times, including once by your father. Sorry!
I've been looking for this all my life.
I just wanted to start by perhaps doing like a little bit of like a scene breakdown. And the one that it was hard to choose which one, but Morocco, that whole sequence was so quintessentially indie. It had the humor, it had the action, it had it all. So I'll start with you. If you sort of want to maybe talk about what you recollect from shooting that scene and how and what makes it so quintessentially indie.
Ooh. Morocco, let's see. What are we doing in Morocco?
You bust out of the hotel.
Oh, yeah, okay. We would
get a fight over
yeah.
cab.
Oh, yeah, and the tuk-tuk chase
Yes,
and all of that
there's
stuff.
always a tuk-tuk, right?
Always a tuk-tuk available. Well, we've always gone to exotic locales, and there's nothing more exotic in the world than Morocco, right? It's a nugget of the past that's available for anybody to go visit, and we were able to make a movie there, and it brought all kinds of new visual context to the thing. And it was a great, narrow streets. It's perfect for all these kinds of chase scenes that we were doing. So I loved the work we did in Morocco, and we also went to Sicily. We worked there in part of our journey around the world. These exotic locales bring something visually interesting, new to the audience, and we've always used them in the films. But it's a kernel of the story. What takes place in Morocco is a part of a fabric overall of the story, and each part of that fabric has got to hold together. So I'm now done talking about Morocco.
The only things I'd add to it is that I think that the really tricky thing to somehow communicate is that every set piece and kind of sequence in a movie like this is an incredibly complex tapestry of things. The number of shots, stunts, dramatic scenes, but what you're also trying to do in an Indiana Jones film versus a kind of more conventional action picture is that character is such an important part of these movies. So I like to think my personal kind of philosophy is just like if you're making a musical, the best musicals, it's not like the story stops and they sing and then the story moves on, that through singing, there are more connections made. Similarly, in a kind of action movie, particularly with what Stephen and Harrison and George developed in the first Indies, the action is a fulfillment of character, not just the most and greatest and latest display of stunts and visual effects. So that, to use Morocco as an example, the entire sequence also becomes an ongoing argument between Harrison and Phoebe's character, Indy, and Helena, Phoebe Waller-Bridge's character, so that we're sorting out character stuff while they're almost getting impaled, shot, and run over, and that it's this commingling and kind of tiling of all this stuff on top of each other that produces some of the really frantic and wonderful energy that I think is the hallmark of these pictures, and I think why you recognize it as feeling,
and
particularly indie. Yeah.
You just nailed it. You just nailed the entire franchise and the series and why it works, and it does feel, to use your term, this tapestry. I know you don't like to go into the past too much, but this is probably my last opportunity to ask you to sort of reflect on the tapestry that has been this entire franchise.
I'm in a reflective mood.
Good.
Tapestry away.
Tapestry away. If you can reflect on this film, this experience, and the entire incredible journey that it's been.
Well, this is the roundness I was looking for. I was looking for, if I was going to do one more film, I wanted it to be character-driven. As much as any of them were, I want this one to be more character-driven. I wanted to take this character someplace we had not been before with him. I wanted to see the effect of the life that he had lived on him. And we see it in his domestic arrangements with his wife. We see it in the messy New York tenement apartment that he now inhabits. There's nothing poetic about it. It's just put there for you to see, and you find your friend, the character that you've come to see, in circumstances where you just say, whoa, wait a minute, what's going on here? But I think it's perfect. It's a wonderful dramatic device. So we are able then to watch the new characters in his life buoy him up to the surface again.
That was a part of the tapestry. Can you reflect on the first 4 films?
I can only say that I'm delighted to be able to make films that families have shared with their children over and over and over again. I mean, there's 4 new generations there. Still, I hope, interested in the character, interested in the movie experience that they can have with this character. These films are more about movies and the pleasure of watching a really well-made movie than they are about archaeology. But they're essentially about human relationships and what it means to be a complex human being.
I'm retiring.
Well, in that case, what are we drinking?
Same for the goddaughter.
Dad told me you found something on a train during the war. A dial that could change the course of history.
I asked Harrison and James to start a mini scene breakdown of the Morocco sequence. So I'm going to ask you to continue it. As actors, what do you remember about shooting that scene, the logistics of it? Because it kind of has everything, right? It's got the humor, the action, the roller coaster.
Well, I remember we used to shoot it from the beginning of the shooting to the end. No, we started shooting.
What? Wait, no, go on.
We started to shoot it in Morocco.
Yeah.
And we finished it in London.
Yes, we did.
Till the last day.
Were we doing that on the last day? No, we weren't.
No.
Sorry,
Till the last week.
Yes, you're absolutely right, yeah.
Like, it was very long to shoot. I remember it was, like, it took a big part of the shooting.
Yes, and it's funny because we don't necessarily know exactly what's going to be left over to do in London. The stuff that we did in Morocco was just totally immersive because we're there and you can feel the heat and the air and the smells and everything. And it's lucky we did that first because then you can kind of bring that back. But then we had that little bit that we had to do on the lot when I crashed the tuk-tuk and then I wasn't allowed to do it anymore.
You crashed the tuk-tuk?
Yeah, and I was in it.
He was in it in the back.
Yeah.
Literally, as it crashed into the back of the Mercedes with all the Nazis in it, I was just like, oh my God, Ethann's in the back. And then I was like, oh my God, his mum's never going to forgive me. And I felt literally his little head came up and he was like, what happened? I was like, he's alive!
I remember we were driving and I heard, cut! And we're still driving, and I was like, what's happening right now? And we're like, crap.
I think there's like a moment in the film, from another bit in the film, where like Mads is looking out the back of the car. Yeah. But that's exactly what I saw when I was crashing. It's Mads being like, no! And I was like, oh, no.
That was a real reaction that got left in the film. Oh my gosh, that's a great story. That's adorable. Yeah. You actually, in that sequence, you reminded me a little bit of Temple of Doom. I don't know, did you watch Temple of Doom?
Of course.
Because I think you and Ke Huy Quan were the 2 youngest ever in the franchise. What is it about the trio do you think that works so much? And what did you think of Ke's performance in that movie? And did it inspire you in yours?
Yeah, it really inspired me. I used to watch Temple of Doom as a kid, and I still watch it now. And his performance is amazing. And I think Teddy and him are kind of similar because they both admire an adult who's like an adventurer. I think they're kind of different anyway because Helena is a thief, and Teddy's also a thief, and Short Round is not really a thief, but they're quite similar, yeah.
Good energy. That's the similarity. It's good energy. Phoebe, I actually, and I didn't know this the last time I talked to you, that you were nervous on the first day, and Harrison clocked you with his script or something like this. Did it help?
It really did. It was perfect. Because I was sort of doing that thing of like, I feel a bit. I was just in my head too much, and I've been thinking about it for so long, and then there was a break because Harrison's shoulder went, so I was thinking about it again, and then suddenly you're on set, and suddenly there's that moment when they go and action, and all that noise of that year of the preparation and the training, all that kind of stuff, and suddenly it's and go, and I was just like, huh? And I sort of got to that place, so I asked him after that, I was like, can you just I apologise for having, my head was a bit full, and he just emptied it by going back. And then he said, you're doing good, kid. And that is, you know what I mean? That's all you need.
You were so cool, calm, and collected in the film. I would never. I was like, I wrote down, like, how? I get nervous. I was like, how? Your parents? You brought them to Cannes?
Of course.
Can you talk about that? That must have been like, hey, Mom and Dad, we're going to Cannes.
They were actually with me during the entire shooting, so I thought it was like the continuation of that to bring them to Cannes with me. And they were always with me, and they always support me in my acting process.
It's an amazing family. Your family is incredible.
Thank you.
And this guy is an absolute genius. I don't know if they told you that he plays the piano and writes scripts and speaks multiple languages. I mean, it's terrifying.
Thanks.
You're terrifying.
Are you writing Indiana Jones 6?
I could try to.
Don't forget me.
Hitler made mistakes, and with this, I will correct them all.
You stole it.
Then you stole it.
And then I stole it. It's called capitalism.
I'm wondering for each of you, I know you saw Indiana Jones when you were 17 years old and you wanted to be him from what I understand. But what was the moment for each of you where you said, I'm in a freaking Indiana Jones movie? Like, was there a moment that he came out of his trailer or something like that?
We had the first day on set together.
At the first day on set, yeah, truly. I mean, he wasn't even there, but just looking at the scale and the scope of this film, and it was an exterior shot, and there was New York, and we know it's the beginning of this wonderful journey for these characters. It just was really impressed upon me about how big of a deal this was, and it was also just really exciting. I think I was grounded rather quickly by Jim and my castmates, which was lovely.
Yeah, it's a surreal experience that, you see this movie when I saw the film Temple of Doom when I was 6.
My favorite.
And that's the movie that, brought out adventure in me, wanted to go see other films. And then on the day you're on set and there's 300, crew members and you've got to go to this mark and say that line, or you have to reset the entire thing. It takes 30 minutes. And that's the thrill of why I like to do what I do. It's exciting.
Right before I get to mess, I want to know from the two of you, the parade with the streamers. I know James shot a lot of stuff practically. So how impractical was it to have, and how many streamers were flying through the air? I feel like it would have been...
Well, it's actually the confetti on the ground that is slippery. And Olivier actually broke his leg the first day or something.
That first week, or not the first day?
And he's 7'2", and so we had to deal with that the entire shoot. And there's a motorcycle, and there's cars, and there's horses running through this. So, yeah, it's a lot.
I was just happy to have one job. Yeah. I'm just an actor. I'm not going to deal with anything else because it's so complicated and wonderful. But, yeah.
And for you?
Oh, my Indiana Jones experience?
I heard something about he was coming out of his trailer one day and you saw him.
Mine is a trailer story, yeah. I was supposed to meet up with him first time I meet Harrison. And then we were just going through the scenes and stuff, and he comes out well-dressed because apparently he was having a custom fitting. So he came out as Indiana Jones. So that was the first time I met him. So I also realized that's what I'm doing now.
Yeah, I had a chance to speak to him a couple of months ago, and I said to him, when do you know you're back in an Indiana Jones movie? And he's like, I put on the hat, I cracked that whip, and I'm ready to go. So everybody keeps asking him about being de-aged and seeing himself be de-aged. Yeah. How did you feel about seeing yourself de-aged?
I was crossing my fingers they would do something because they dyed my hair pitch black, and that made me just look like a very old woman. So I was like, they better do something more than that. It's a scary thing for us as well, right? Because now they can do whatever. But used in this manner, I think is fantastic because it is Harrison. It's him acting. It's his face.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. And you feel it. You feel when something's authentic and when it's not authentic. I'm wondering for all of you, because the three of you really do play more serious characters, but you are in a movie that has so much tongue-in-cheek to it and humor. So do you sort of do a nod and a wink with the sort of performance or do you play it as a drama? Or do you have to tweak it based on the type of film that it is?
I kept my fun off camera. Yeah. I was very a serious actor while we were rolling. No, I think there's a little bit of something in there. Like I think the dialogue that was happening in my head was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I have to work with these Nazis, and there's something kind of exasperating about that, and just kind of like a roll of the eye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's truth in comedy, right? You just play it straight and let everybody else laugh, and that's how it works, kind of.
But we know it's there. We know it's Indiana Jones, right? I mean, little things. I mean, not everything ends up. We had a little thing going on, which we found really funny, that this guy who's from Kentucky, this character, he just keeps practicing his German on my character, and my character hates it. so we had moments like that.
Yeah, I was trying to get into the club. I'm desperate.
The word destiny. Harrison originally wasn't cast in this movie. He was recast in this movie.
Yeah.
The original, Raiders of the Lost Ark, which is insane. And there's an element of destiny. Obviously, you're great actors, but was there any sort of destiny that intervened for you to be sitting where you're sitting right now in getting this role?
In terms of this film?
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure there is somewhere. I mean, at one point, our faces came before James' eyes. I don't know how that happened, but there must be some destiny there.
Yeah. I met Jim for lunch, and we rehearsed some scenes a couple days after that. And this was before we did the film Logan with him, and I wouldn't have done this film without Jim. There's no way if any other director would have been doing this, I would have said that's a bad idea.
Harrison said in the press conference that he's never seen actors give so much, and he got very emotional. What was your reaction to that moment? I mean, he's worked a lot, and he's saying this about the three of you.
That was really touching.
Was he drinking?
No, really touching. And I think because we all went into it knowing, again, what this means and the gravity of ending this franchise, that we wanted to give it our all, every take, and we wanted to stay present. And I think we're also reflecting his work ethic and what he brought to set every day.
Yeah, now you're saying there's almost once you can't let the whole other films go down because if this one goes bad, feeling of just you got to step up and make this happen.
Is there a quintessential Indiana Jones scene from any of the filmography? You can even choose a scene that you're in that is now your favorite.
Well, I like the callback. Oh, can we talk about the whip? The gun in the whip.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's in the trailer, so yeah.
When he had the whip and everyone else took out their guns.
For me, it's got to be the first sequence of the first film, that entirety of in there, the rolling boulder coming after him, coming out, seeing the guy who betrayed him, and then realizing there's 150,000 people after him. It's just an amazing start of a film.
I think eating the monkey brains.
Oh, yeah.
That's just still sticks with me.